it was packaged really nice and I was confident there wasn't going to be any issues. So what came inside the box? Well, obviously the fridge, but inside the fridge was a wire basket, an AC power cable, a DC power cable, an instruction manual, but most surprisingly, a protective cover or a sleeve to go over the fridge freezer. Now, I was not expecting that because most fridge companies make you buy the cover to keep your fridge safe. ICECO provided you with it, so that was a huge plus. I was also really impressed with how light this fridge was when I pulled it out of the box. I was expecting it to be heavier, but in my opinion, it felt similar to just a regular 40-45 quart cooler. But after looking it up in the instruction manual, it does say that this is about 41 pounds. And after doing a Google search, I found out that most 40 to 45 quart coolers weigh about 30 pounds. So it is about 10 to 11 pounds heavier than a regular cooler. But that makes sense because obviously you have the compressor and all the components inside of it. But still, 10 to 11 pounds isn't that huge of a difference. And obviously that is dry. Once you add, you know, your drinks and your food and eggs and extra stuff in there, it gets much heavier. But what's nice about this fridge compared to a regular cooler is you don't need to carry it everywhere. It has wheels and a handle, so you can just wheel it where you need to go. ICECO lists the dimensions of the JP40PROD at 28.5 by 13.8 by 18 inches. All right, well, that's great. Thanks for telling me the dimensions of this thing, but let's break it down. How many cold ones can I store in here for my next beer pong tournament? Well, ICECO says that you can fit 43 cans or about 23 soda bottles or about 10 wine bottles for the ladies that want to keep their rosé chilled on their next girls trip. And since this is a dual zone fridge freezer combo, you can remove the partition and have the zone set to the same temperature, or you can do what I did and have one zone set to 33 degrees and the other zone set to about 5 degrees. That way you can enjoy your Ben & Jerry's when you get to the desert. How is the build of the fridge? Is it something that could take a small beating while out camping? Obviously, I wouldn't be swinging the fridge around by its handle or, you know, kicking it down a mountain. But yeah, I'd say overall, this thing is built really well. It's made of a hard plastic material that I'm sure could take some dings and scratches without breaking. It has some solid handles with a really great grip. It's the kind of grip that you would find on a dumbbell, so even if your hands are a little wet after getting ready to prep for cooking, you'll still be able to get a nice hold on the handles. The wheels are plastic as well, but they do have a nice rubber tread wrapped around them, so it won't crack or break easily while being dragged over rough terrain. And the lid is also a nice hard plastic with some textured squares on top to prevent it from being too slippery that things might roll or slide off if the fridge is tilted slightly at an angle. Actually, let's go ahead and take a second to talk more about this lid because this is another awesome feature about this fridge. Not only can you open it from one side or the other, but you can actually take the lid off entirely. Now, I will say, I did think that this was gonna be somewhat of a gimmick when I got it. When you think about it, okay, one hand will open the fridge, the other hand will go and grab a drink or grab your Ben & Jerry's ice cream or your, oh man, Klondike Reese's bars. I'll get those later. But I did find myself on my road trip taking the lid off entirely just to be able to access things more easily. With the lid off, you don't need to worry about keeping it open or propping it. You have access to everything you need really quickly compared to having one arm holding it up as you're pulling stuff out. So the ability to take the lid off entirely and snap on like that is a huge game changer in my opinion.